Welcome to Kings and Queens International Learners Room. Today I'll be talking on a very important topic in chemistry, which is elements. Let's move over to the board to enable you understand this topic very well. What is elements? Elements is a pure substance that cannot be broken down into two or more simpler substances by any chemical processes. So I'm going to sing song with this so that you get to understand the definition very well. Element is a pure substance that cannot be broken down into two or more simpler substances by any chemical processes. Element is a pure substance that cannot be broken down into two or more simpler substances by any chemical processes. Examples of elements: we have hydrogen, we have oxygen, we have nitrogen, we have gold. If you look at the board now, you will see that the first letter is usually we write it in capital letter, while the second one starts with one small letter. Why I'm writing this abbreviation like this is that we use abbreviation and symbols in representing elements. That is why I'm putting these examples of elements like this. And we have 118 elements, both the one that is naturally, that is made by nature, and the one that is artificially made in the lab. We have all of them total of 118. And we have what we call classification of elements. I've come to discover that personally, elements, some scientists classify their element based on the number of electrons in the outermost shell. Some scientists also will classify their own elements based on the similarities of their properties. But today I'm classifying my own element based on metal, non-metal, and the metalloids. What are metals? Metals are malleable and good conductors of heat. What do I mean by malleable? If I should pick my hammer and start hitting example of metal is iron. If I should pick my hammer and start hitting on the iron, you see that it has tendency of bending, but it will not break. That is what we mean that it's malleable. And the metals are good conductors of heat because they allow heat to pass through them. But when I talk about non-metals are non-malleable and they are poor conductors of heat. You cannot pick your hammer and say you are hitting on non-metals. And I will say that also they are poor conductors of heat. What are the examples of non-metals? We have oxygen, we have carbon, etc. These are examples of non-metals. But when we talk about metalloids have properties of metals and non-metals, which is silicon. So I've come to discover that some students usually confuse themselves. You see, a student will always ask you a question and say, Auntie, you said that gold is an example of metal, but you can still break it down. I said that gold is an example of metal. So listen and understand why I say that gold is an example of metal. In as much that you can pick your hammer and start hitting on a gold, it will break into pieces, but it still remains that gold. It's not breaking down into two or more simpler substances. Okay, let me give you another example. We have water, and our water is H2O. Water can be breaking down to have hydrogen and oxygen. You see, hydrogen and oxygen chemically combine together is what makes a water, and this is a compound. But there is no way you will pick your hammer and start breaking your goat to get another element. That is why we say that element is gold is an example of element. Then another student will ask you, Auntie, of what use is this element to us? I have come to discover that element is very good and very important to us, because without this element, of course, even me that is teaching this topic, we find it very difficult to be in existence. Why do I say that? In as much that we know that air is a compound, but without an element, there is nothing like a compound. So as I'm breathing in now, as I'm taking air to my nostrils, I'm taking in some elements. And what are those elements? We have oxygen, we have nitrogen, even living organisms, plants, they take in carbon dioxide, and so on and so forth. You discover that element is very important in our existence. Thank you very much. You have to follow me in Kings and Queens International. Learn at home. Subscribe, like, comment, share to enable you get more videos coming. Thank you very much. You can call me on 081 34 75 5018. Thank you.